Hello and welcome to Third Eye Thinkers. I'm your host, Michelle Welch.
Hi, I'm your host, Megan Benanti. Thanks for joining us today.
How you doing?
Fantastic. And you?
Really, really well. Thank you.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
I'm excited about our topic.
Yeah. This was a fun one. And, it's always kind of hard. Well, we're always trying to figure out, okay, what's the next subject going to be? Mm-hmm. And this one just kind of came last night. And I don't remember quite why, because we were talking about, our subject today is animals. And we were talking about animals last week. And I think that's what triggered it for me, because I was like, oh, I want to bring my puppy in. But I didn't feel that was appropriate, so I did not.
So it's a subject that's very, very dear to a lot of people. In fact, I just saw today a friend of ours, Arwen Poe, had posted that she had lost one of her animals, and those are her children. And and the picture she posted was the one that's still living, that's giving, is making her so happy. Yeah. But everybody's sending the condolences, and it's just a very happy subject, but just like the people in our lives, just a subject that we get very close to our animal companions.
Yes, and it's one of those subjects, too, where I feel like so many people can touch on this, because I feel like more people are animal lovers than not. It's been interesting. We added a dog door at my house, and so my dogs actually visit during most of my readings now. And but I always ask people first, I'm like, are you comfortable with dogs? Because I don't want anybody to feel, at all uncomfortable during a reading. Right. But they've been kind of therapeutic for people, so it's cool.
Yeah, and cats are very healing. Our cat, her purr, it's a boy, but I still think it's a girl because we thought it was a girl from the get-go. So Artemis, our boy, is so healing. His purr, I'm just like, bring him in when you're down or anything. But Joaquina from our store, today she was posting about the fact that she wanted her reptilian friends to reach out to her because her daughter wants a snake and her husband wants a tortoise. So, it's all over the board who people connect with.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's what they want. And I was like, well, I can't help you on that one.
I had a friend who had a tortoise, and she, or a friend of a friend, I should say, but the tortoise would come out to see her whenever she'd come home. Tortoise came over to the edge of the box and, was always looking for her and stuff.
They lived to be about 100 years old, she was telling me.
Yeah, they had a really long-term relationship.
Yes.
So
very long-term. Yes. Well, I have a bulldog. And I have a little, the bulldog is a mess. Her name is Gypsy. Well, it's Gypsy Ellie Mae, so Jim. And then we have Pixie is our Shih Tzu. And then we have, of course, Artemis. And what about your animals?
So I have 2 corgis and a husky. And my huskies are rescue, that's Shiloh. And then my 2 corgis I've raised since birth. And they're both Pembrokes. So those are, my older one's Winston and my puppy is Theo.
Oh,
so
you
super fun.
And the Queen.
Yes,
your corgis.
Yes. Although the Queen's generation line has now passed on. The last one I think was a Dorky, because she had a Dachshund at one point. So then she had Dachshund corgis together.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I thought
she was just corgi.
Yeah, no. So for the most part, they predominantly were very corgi based, but corgis are kind of barkers. And so apparently the family love of corgis did not carry on to children and grandchildren because they're noisy.
Yeah, I think that Harry and Meghan just got a Labrador.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I think I read that. So also what ties in with that is the animal totems, the spirit animals, the totems or the animals that might just appear in your life for a moment, or might be an ongoing totem. And a lot of times people will ask me, well, how do you know if something's an animal totem or a spirit animal in your life? How do you know? Well, a lot of times the way I determine that, without even going to an intuitive to tell you, they don't really need to tell you. It's usually what you have dreams about, and maybe recurring dreams throughout your life, and animals that you're drawn to.
Absolutely.
Or, if one just happens across your path on a lot of occasions, then that animal might have a message for you for that particular time. So actually your book, your Stephen Farmer book, and then Ted Andrews that I have, they're probably 2 most foremost ones that have written a lot about animals and animal totems. And what I was going to say, if you don't mind me saying, Megan, is that in yours, I believe it's in the Stephen Farmer book, he will break it down into, is this a spirit animal in your life that's for your whole lifetime, or is it one that's giving you a message right now? And how you know which one that would be. Like if all of a sudden you see, one time I was driving up to my apartment in Frisco, and I was out in the parking lot, and I saw 3 little mice. Okay, so they were so cute. They were probably rats, but they looked like mice to me. So I looked them up because I didn't, just to see 3 and just to see what that meant. And for me, and one of the things is people always want like the coolest animal totem. They're like, I'm panther or whatever they want. That they always want that really cool one. But one of mine is the mosquito. Because I'll have dreams about these big, giant mosquitoes, you guys. They look kind of like robot mosquitoes, and I've had them since I was little. The same exact dream.
That's so crazy. She's mentioned this to me before.
So when you look at mosquitoes, it's about things that irritate you. And, like, if something's going on in your life that's just a pest and is irritating you, then you need to look at that and see what's going on with that. And it's not that mosquitoes are horrible, but sometimes they are pests to us. They kind of they can irritate us, and so it's always cracking me up when people want to know about their animal totems, and I'll be like, well, it's the bumblebee or it's the beetle, and they're like, well, I thought it was the leopard or something.
Right.
Like, no, well, right now this is what I'm getting for you. So yeah.
So when I was kind of looking up animal guides, because we both, pets are just as important as well as the idea of animal guides, animal spirits, totem animals. There's a lot of different names, and it kind of depends on whether you're coming from the shamanic background or looking from a different perspective. We didn't mention the titles of these books.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes,
Animal Spirit Guides by Stephen Farmer, and then
Animal Speak by Ted Andrews.
So if you're interested in looking up those, they're both really good books. Yeah. So one of the things you'll find is a lot of times you might have recurring dreams, or you might have situations where they cross your path, or maybe it's just something you think about on a regular basis. For me, I remember as a child, I went through a period, I know I was a weird kid, but I kind of thought I was a white wolf. And so,
I love that.
And I over the years, I let that go. And then my youngest son, just one day was really into wolves. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to decorate his room in wolves. We'll surprise him. And this is before like kind of the woodlands theme was in, so it was pretty hard to find stuff. But I came up with a really cool bedroom for him, and he was just, floored. And then I made him a business card with a wolf on it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so he just had his name and phone number on there for his friends. But and then I went to a mediumship training class out in California. And we connected with our spirit animals. And I was like, the first thing I did was brush it off. Oh, no, mine couldn't be a wolf. That's just because I just did a bedroom in it. That's the only reason I'm thinking of it. But sure enough, when you really think about it, it will be things that frequent your life. And I do tend to get a lot of, I kind of connect with mythological figures or animals in that sense. The winged lion is a big one for me. But other things have crossed my path at different times too. So it's a fun experience, and just kind of be open and take notes of them. And I think it's kind of nice to have an animal guide book around, because then you can look it up when you're curious as to what it means.
So I actually will do that if I go out to a park, or if we even go like to Shops at Legacy or something, and we're out by the lake. I'll have the little book of this. So we have at Soultopia the little pocket guides.
Oh,
and
nice.
It's almost always in my purse, and of course the day that it needs to be. But this deck by Stephen Farmer, it's called Messages from Your Animal Spirit Guides. He actually has it a kind of a version of this and the Animal Spirit Guides in a little pocket book that you can carry, and so does Ted Andrews. And then you can just, like, if you see something, you just look it up, and it'll tell you. And there's no harm, nothing wrong with just, you don't have to intuitively know. You can get an intuitive message, but there's nothing wrong with also looking up something about that animal to see, or Googling it and just see, what kind of makes sense to me of what this might be telling me today. Why is that? I never happen to see, we see a lot of rabbits maybe, or squirrels, but You know, it was very unusual for me to see those 3 mice, you know, at the at that time. You know, it was just like, and they were just popped up and then they just disappeared. And so to look it up and is a really okay thing to do. You don't always have to intuitively know. And plus it's just interesting.
My time in Sedona was like full of animal symbols. I mean, like I walked through a labyrinth and then 2 deer crossed my path, and then I had a healing session, and there was a hawk on the back fence as soon as we were done. So I felt like there was stories everywhere, and sometimes it won't connect with what you expect. I remember years ago having a dream about a big giant frog, and I went into a painting class, and I was just like, anybody know what frogs mean in your dreams? And the teacher was like, oh, fertility. Frogs, fertility? Wouldn't have put that together. But, you know, it totally made sense with where I was at that point in my life. So,
I will say, when you were talking about the wolf, that's one of my totems too. That's probably, and it's leadership and teaching. There's a lot of, and more. But it's
and it came up in my reading with you.
I wasn't going to say it because it's confidential. But when we had the reading, it was about your son.
Right,
remember?
It was.
And then you told me, actually, his room's decorated in
wolves.
I said both of you, you know, wolf is your totem. And you're like,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I asked Roger, he had the cutest picture of a wolf, my husband. And it was this little wolf puppy. And I was like, can I rescue that wolf? And he said, no, there's professionals that rescue the wolves, Michelle. And I was like, but I want to rescue that baby. So it was so cute.
Oh,
so
I bet.
Cute. And every time we go to Tucson, there's a guy that comes from Sedona, and he has his wolf with him.
Oh, wow.
And I get pictures. I should have brought that. I get pictures with the wolf.
That's cool.
That's kind of the reason I want it. I mean, I love all the crystals and things in Tucson. It's the whole town is just taken over by crystals. But I'm always looking for Patrick and his wolf.
Oh, that's really cool.
So, yeah, every time. I saw a husky, and I started running towards the husky, and I was like, it's the, but I like huskies too.
Yep,
I'll run to
good.
the husky. It's not my wolf. Yeah, so it's really cool. It's interesting that another thing is different cultures and what they think about animals.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things is the leopard. I believe it's India. Yes. Right now, they're being overrun by leopards. The leopards are having nowhere to go, and it's kind of sad if you watch about it. I get, you know, to where you're just watching things on YouTube or something, you know, all of a sudden I'm just down the rabbit hole. I mean, you know, where have I wound up? But it's the leopard there is thought of as sometimes like the devil, like very, you know, it's like evil, and they have a lot of superstition around that.
Oh, interesting.
And so now that the poor leopards just are like invading homes because they don't have anywhere to go because they're so, you know, it's actually the homes are invading the leopards' territory is what's happening. And so it's very interesting. I'm always trying to tell people in my classes, whenever you're doing intuitive work or whenever you get a message for yourself, or especially for someone else, always think about the culture too, because it may not be what we think of. You know, it may be different in a different culture.
And that's true when you see them in decks, card decks as well, and in paintings. You know, where was it painted? Who is the artist? What are they bringing into that? Because that's going to have a different meaning to it as well. So I brought a couple of other books I just wanted to mention because obviously we like animals at SoulW. We have all kinds of books. Oh, yeah.
But this little book, it's by the publisher. Let's see. We'll go like this. It's by the publisher is Llewellyn, and they have these little books of whatever. You know, they probably have plants. They have tarot. They have little books of, and this is the little book of spirit animals. So it looks like a really good book too, and it doesn't have pictures, but it pretty much has, you know, like here's boa constrictor, and it says elements, earth, primary colors, black, brown, green, reds, white, multiple patterns, and then it gives you a description of what that would mean if that spirit animal came up for you. And I will touch on that. I do think the words blend that you were saying, Megan, to go back to that a little bit. Is it a spirit animal, a power animal, an animal totem? And I agree with you that a lot of that comes from, are you looking at it from the shaman perspective? There is a medicine wheel that has so many animals on it. When we first did animal totem bracelets, I used those animals. It's like elk, moose, Wolf is on there, but not a lot of ones that people would just go, oh, I really want that totem, unless they've studied the medicine wheel and the shaman aspect of it. So, yeah.
And one of the things I was looking at is that traditionally, like domesticated animals and insects were not totem or spirit animals.
They weren't.
Now, totem animals actually can represent an entire family too, and that's something to think about. So it's a group. It's about a group. So even in your universities, like University of Texas in Austin, that totem is the longhorn. And then spirit animals are generally going to be your non-domestic, more individually based animals.
And another interesting thing that I was always told, and it makes sense to me, is and it's just a little nitpicky thing, but when you talk about your animal totem, you would say wolf versus it's the wolf or a wolf. It's wolf. It represents all wolves. And then you might have the whole collective wolf.
The combined essence
of it. Yeah. And then, or it's dragon, or it is ladybug, whatever. And insects are very much considered now.
Right. They have been added in now. And the letter would be capitalized as well.
Exactly.
So, but you're not speaking about a single one. You're talking about the communal essence of that animal. So. Yeah. And when you cite one, that is the message communally from that group.
Right. I feel the same about crystals. I feel like when we talk about, let's say we're talking about angelite, it's angelite as a collective, but then I do believe each one has its own essential character and being to it. Same with the animals. Same with people, too.
Yeah. And because I think part of that is where it comes from in the earth, what that vibration brings to it. That's a lot that ties in.
So a lot of people will come in. You mentioned the domestic. They will come in and they'll speak about, especially the younger generation. They really will speak about, their cat or their dog and how they're connected to that. And I think it can be a totem for you, but that's more of a companion. I don't know that we have to label it, but they're becoming, the domesticated animals are becoming more, because not every culture has domesticated animals.
Right.
Like, for instance, my daughter dated somebody from Brazil for a while, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but what her understanding is they don't really have dogs. It was very interesting for him, where he was from, for somebody to just have that you would take in a dog in your family.
Right.
That was just very unusual for him. He just was like, what?
In Croatia, all the male cats live outside.
Yeah. So it's just like, they were like, you'd bring that into your house. They didn't. So it's just, again, different from culture to culture. And both of these books, Stephen Farmer and Ted Andrews, both address the shaman aspect. I would say, from my experience, Ted Andrews a little bit more. A little bit more if you go with Ted Andrews' books. And I'm drawn to Stephen Farmer a little more personally, because he seems to get more our time with it. Not that shamanism's not, but he brings it a little more current for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah. So, do we want to go into our
let's look crystals? Let me talk about my plant, and then you can talk about your crystal.
Sounds good.
So today I brought in catmint or catnip. And there's my dog Shiloh. That's my husky. She has two eyes, but one's brown, so it looks like it's almost not there. And that's catmint next to her on the right, and or catnip. And catnip's kind of a cool plant. It's been around a really long time. It came over from Europe and Asia. It wasn't native to the States. And it's part of the mint family. So in the mint family, you've got like square stems, which is kind of interesting and great to help you identify it. The leaves are similar to mint, so it's like serrated, but it's got a fuzz on it. And generally, fuzzy plants make them the fuzz makes plants more drought tolerant. Catmint's got a really pretty kind of a blue-purple bloom on it, and but you can get them in white and pink blooms as well. So it's going to carry a lot of the same properties as mint, so good digestive aid. It also can help fill you up. It does not taste like mint. It tastes a little more bitter, but it smells kind of similar, but a little bit different. So people will come over, and if they're muddling through my garden, they might pick some and try to chew it, and they're like, what is this? And I think the bloom is prettier than my mint. It's got an interesting effect on cats, and that's why I picked it. Everybody knows kind of about catnip. I mean, you can even buy it at PetSmart. It's not going to be as strong, though, unless it's been fresh or fresh dried and then frozen, because it will lose its oils. But the oils in it are what's really essential, because that's going to that's what we intake. And then that's also what the cats are sniffing in, because it kind of gets up their nose and goes into their brain. And it gets them a little bit high, a little drunk for about anywhere from 1 to 10 minutes. And their general response is going to be to kind of roll around in it, lay on their backs, smear their head in there and stuff. And it's interesting. It only affects about 70% of cats. And it's genetically passed on whether they're going to be interested in it or not. Because I will say my last cat was not. And I was always like, no luck on the catnip, you know? So it's kind of cool how it affects them. It's also has something to do with their hormones, though, because when they're young, if they're younger than like 6 to 8 weeks, they're not going to respond to it. It's not until they're sexually mature, and that's when they'll have a bigger response. And females can be bigger than males on that.
So is it like an aphrodisiac?
I know. That's what I was kind of thinking. I was like, it does something to kind of get them in the mood, I guess.
Great. More cats.
Yeah, you could end up with more cats if they're not fixed. It doesn't matter if they're fixed or not as far as having a response level to it.
Right.
But it does make them really happy. It's not going to harm them in any way. So it's great. Oh, it's for us. It's good for colds, anxiety, flu. You can make it as a tea. It's safe for children. So it does have kind of a calming effect on us as well. So for them, it's, people say, oh, it's like they're drunk. It is kind of that way, but I think it must have some kind of sexiness to it for them as well. Because if you've ever seen a cat, and it doesn't matter if it's a small kitty, like a house cat, or like a panther, leopard, lion. If they carry the gene for it, they are into it. And
how funny.
Yeah, it's a hoot.
Oh, I'd like to see the lions, and I haven't seen that before.
They have them on, you can see them online. I just Googled it, and they just get all into it. It's a hoot.
That's funny. So. Yeah, I took some catnip home from one of our classes one time. We had a bunch of herbs.
Mm-hmm.
It was for something they were using catnip, and I can't remember exactly. But I let it sit way too long. I mean, so it started stinking, and then I just threw it away because I thought, okay, now the cat's not going to like it.
Yeah, it's got to kind of dry out first, and you hang it upside down to dry
I thought
it.
It didn't
Now, when
smell
I
so good.
worked in a nursery, catnip and catmint were two different things. Online, it seems to be synonymous, and that catmint is a nickname for catnip. What I actually have here is catmint, not catnip. And
It's pretty though.
yeah, it's pretty. It's a great landscape plant in Texas.
Yeah.
So. Okay, what'd you bring?
Okay, so I brought today the crystal. It's a jasper, and all jaspers, excuse me, they're kind of like agates. Jaspers are named often for how they look or where they're from, just like agates. So you may have a red jasper, and it's going to be red. This one is Dalmatian jasper. Jaspers in general are the supreme nurturers. That's just jaspers, okay,
wow.
Just in general. So any jasper you get, but there's all kinds of jaspers, and they're kind of hard to learn. But this one's quite distinctive.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly it was named Dalmatian jasper because of the dogs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just pretty obvious. It's a white with kind of a black spots on it and some brown. Some are a little more tan than others. I brought one to show that I'm holding, it's more white and black, very obvious. Mm-hmm. Okay, so really, this crystal does a lot of things, but the primary thing that it does, not the primary, but the reason I brought it today is because you think of loyalty with your animals and just the unconditional love and the supreme nurturing that you receive from your animals, for your animal companions, because they are typically, when we invite them into our home. They become part of our family, and they are extremely loyal to us and there for us sometimes when other people aren't, you know, or when we're down, you know. I remember growing up and my cat actually could almost sense when I would come home down from school, or if I lost a tennis match or something, and my cat would comfort me. So this is why I chose the Dalmatian Jasper, because pretty much for any animal, there is going to be a crystal that will kind of go with that animal. So if you're talking about, let's say, a dolphin, then that's going to be more, you're going to get more into your blues and your grays and the playfulness of the dolphin, and maybe some water, you know, some aquamarine or things like that. So it's really hard to just say this crystal for cats. You know, for cats, you could do cat's eye. You could do, for tigers, you could do tiger's eye. For hawks, that's blue tiger's eye. So for every animal, there's a different totem. But I thought this one was good. And I have a photo for those of you that are watching. Roger at our store, my husband, he makes animal charms. They can be put on your purse. They can be worn as jewelry. Some people actually put them in their dreadlocks. But they're also, for animals, and he makes them with all different kinds of crystals and beads. There's another picture that looks like moonstone in the middle, and probably some black tourmaline or black onyx. And so he makes them whatever you want, and we have them in stock. But then if you have a particular crystal, like we had a friend that had rescued a dog who became a rescue dog, and so it was a rescued animal that then became a rescue animal. Her husband was in the fire department. Does that make sense? So she rescued the dog, and the dog was trained to be a rescued animal. So, but they needed to calm the dog a little bit for around people. So we use lepidolite, because lepidolite has lithium in it. Lepidolite is very naturally calming. So we use that and some amethyst so whatever the animal needs, we will put that into the crystal, whatever properties you're looking for.
Oh, that's cool.
For the animal. And then you can also use crystals. That's my little pixie. She didn't get much bigger than that. She is so small. But I have, you can do Reiki healing and crystal healing with them. And the selenite, I promise you guys, this was like not staged. She just basically passed out with the selenite on each side of her, the lepidolite, at her crown, and the black tourmaline is very grounding that you put at the feet. And so that's a big old piece of black tourmaline for such a little bitty baby doggy. She probably weighed about 3 pounds right there.
Yeah, and she's on a massage table. So, like, you took her in to work on her.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
She's on a massage table, and so we're working on her, doing her crystal healing. Cats tend to love amethyst, and dogs will calm down with rose quartz. We have big pieces of rose quartz that people will come in and get from the store. Now, clearly, you don't want to put anything around your animals that they can, just like a child, that they could swallow or choke on. So that's why Roger's very careful when he makes the
charm necklaces.
The charms, thank you. And so you just want to be careful. But I had one of our bulldog, and I couldn't find the picture of our bulldog Gypsy with a big old piece of like amethyst in her mouth. You know, she's slobbering all over it, and you know, it's just like, oh, well, you have definitely cleared that amethyst for us.
Yeah.
But they just love it. And so she's a bulldog, but she liked amethyst, but the rose quartz will calm them down too.
Nice.
So it's very good to work with the crystals with the animals, just as long as you're safe. The cats love them. If you do any crystal grids, they'll go and knock them around and play with them. And spheres, they'll knock them all over. A friend of mine has spheres. Cassie, she collects crystal spheres, and the cats just, you know, they love. I think
that's great.
Yeah,
One other interesting thing I was going to add on the Dalmatian. So when I was in Croatia, they had Dalmatian salami, and we were like, you know, obviously it was spotted, but Dalmatian is a place over there,
and so maybe that's why it's named that too.
Well, that's also where the dog is from.
Okay.
So, but it does. This Dalmatian Jasper is like basically white spotted. It's white with black spots, so it looks like a Dalmatian's coat.
Yeah. Another thing that's interesting about these is it's great when you're trying to make choices too. It's a great crystal, just as an aside, for when you're trying to make a decision.
Oh, nice.
It's a great one just to use and hold, and it's not going to make the decision for you, obviously, but it's a great one to work with.
Oh yeah. So if your birth cards, if you're a devil lover, that would be a great stone for you to have.
Devil lover.
Devil lover, because you need to help making those decisions.
Did you say devil lover?
Devil lover.
I thought you said double lover.
If
I was like, I had heard
if your birthday numbers add up to 15 and 6.
Yeah,
so.
I thought you said double lover. I was like, ooh.
No.
That's not me.
Yeah.
No.
So you want to look at doing our readings?
Sure.
We are about out of time, but we just have a few charms today because we chose animal charms. So, and
while you're getting that ready, I'm going to show these. I'm just going to show, we have all kinds of decks at the store, you guys, when they're available all over, but I will promote Soultopia here, obviously. But this is the Animal Whispers Empowerment cards. That's by Madeline Walker, author of The Whale Whisperer. There's all kinds of people who have decks. You can get, Ted Andrews has a tarot deck. There's all kinds of there's even cat decks, specifically dog decks, bird decks, just anything that you're interested in.
Okay.
There's decks for that.
Here.
Okay. What am I doing?
Pull two charms out.
Okay. One. I think that's two.
Okay.
It might be. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
nope, it's more than one.
Okay.
Well, yeah, you got to keep the unicorn.
Okay. Yep. So we've got a butterfly and a unicorn today, folks. So for the reading, you'll choose either the butterfly or the unicorn if you haven't done this before. And then that reading will apply to you for this week. And it's always interesting how this plays out. Okay. So what deck do you want?
Let's just use these.
Okay. So these are oracle cards by Stephen Farmer.
And it comes with a great little pocketbook, too, to help you.
And it's called Messages from Your...
Messages from... I said it earlier, but I'll remind you, it's Messages from Your Animal Spirit Guides, Oracle Cards by Stephen Farmer. And he also has a little pocketbook. And that's he's the author of the big book you have there.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay?
Yep.
So, here we go. Let's see. We'll spread them here. Okay.
Oh, and these are really nice. They've got the heron on there. So, butterfly 1... should I pull one card or two?
I do one, just one for each.
Okay.
And one for the unicorn.
All right. And for the unicorn, we got, so for butterfly, we have zebra. For unicorn, we have seagull.
Okay.
So.
You're going to go first.
Oh, great. Okay. So just because it has a short tidbit on here, we'll read this first. With the zebra, it says, let go of your fear and know that you are safe and protected at all times. And this is an interesting zebra to me because it looks, instead of being evenly striped, it's got more black. It's like black with white stripes. And so maybe it's time for you to look at things in reverse a little bit, or maybe you've been forcing it, and it's time to kind of come out of that dark place. Again, a lot of people have been shifting out of that Mercury retrograde energy, and things are beginning to really happen quickly. So try not to hold on right now. And, that ties in again with that butterfly too, is your charm, that this is transformation time for you. So it is time to kind of strip away anything that's not serving you. If you haven't already done that in the last few weeks, now you're kind of be forced to do that because you need to be able to grow and bloom. And I guarantee as you go into September, I say that I guarantee that. That's a reading. I shouldn't guarantee anything. But as you go into September...
I feel strongly.
I feel strongly that you're really going to be blossoming and opening up. And it's almost like you're a bigger version of yourself than you had been in a while. And that's going to be good. Okay, your thoughts.
Mine's quick. With the butterfly, I get change. And change sometimes is uncomfortable for us. And it's the metamorphosis, the transformation, like you said. And it's interesting on the card when it's speaking about the zebra, it says, let go of the fear. I know that you're safe and protected. So just step into the change. This is the time of year where a lot of changes take place. And we've gone through a lot of changes. In August, it felt like a time of transitioning. Yeah. I think... again, can't guarantee, but I feel strongly that good things are on the horizon, but we have to be let go of the fear and step into some change to bring on what's better in our lives.
Right.
And to allow room for that. Let go of that old energy.
Okay. And then if you pick the unicorn, we've got the seagull card here, and it says, now is the time for deep emotional healing. And a seagull, so that's, we're connected with water, which is interesting because they say that the unicorns lived in the ocean waves, and they would, that's kind of where they hid when the humans came around. So there's a lot of emotional stuff that can come up with this. But unicorns are also magical. So there's an idea of believing in yourself through this situation, and trusting your instinct that you're going to go in the right direction. Because I think there's going to be a part of you that maybe wants to kind of stay stay a little hidden and not necessarily go out of your comfort zone. And you need to push through this right now. That's where the unicorn is coming from, to be your strength, to push you forward and to trust yourself.
I'd say that I'm not a big fan of what we've done with the unicorns lately. It's fun, but they've almost like everywhere you go, it's like exploding unicorns. Yeah. And really, unicorns are quite elusive. Mm-hmm. I actually believe in unicorns. I mean, I'm a big believer of in between the realms and
right.
or the waves and in between realms. And so I think that we need to keep. For those of you who drew the unicorn, it's okay to be unique. It's okay. You don't have to hide, but at the same time, you don't have to give away all your secrets to everybody. If somebody doesn't understand you, that's okay. And that a healing that comes around that, the emotional healing, is that sometimes you just don't feel like you're from here. You don't feel a part of things, and that's okay sometimes. There's other people who feel that way. Just seek out a tribe of unicorns that also are different and unique and don't feel like you have to lose that and feel like you have to fit in with everybody else.
That was really beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, it looks like we are at the end of our show. We want to thank you for joining us, and please take the time to subscribe to us either on RNCN. We're on YouTube Live. We're on Facebook Live, on Soultopia, and on Tarot Dallas. And we look forward to seeing you again. Keep third eye thinking.